Hey, what's up, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. As always, I'm Kyle Smith, joined by Adam Carlson.
I'm here this week.
What's up, man? Hopefully your break wasn't too hard on you last week. I know it was
oh, man. Difficult. Yeah, it was a rough one.
We'll ask Adam what he did last week and why he missed if you guys didn't tune in.
But I don't even remember.
Well, it was such a blur from all the fun and cool stuff you were doing.
It was. I don't even remember half of what was going on.
That sounds like a regular week for me. And as always, last but not least, Kyle West. What's up, sir?
Heyo. Glad to have you back, Adam. The show completely fell apart without you. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We were all over the place.
But that's part of the fun of it all. Got to go with the flow, see where it all takes you.
The flow took us down the toilet. Nah, I'm kidding. Last week's show was a good one. It was fun.
I've heard it was some of the best and most handsome Purple People podcast ever made. That's what I heard.
We're up for a daytime Emmy for most thrilling podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daytime Emmy. Weird.
This guy right here. That's why. It's a new Purple People podcast mascot on my couch. But anyways, thank you guys for whoever's joining us live right now. If not, I'm sure you wanted to know what episode number and title we're on because somehow we keep on rolling with this show and we love it.
Somehow. We don't know how.
People keep listening and we keep on doing it, so I don't know.
This week's episode is number 288, titled First Ballot, Homie. And if you guys didn't hear, we're going to talk about Mr. Randy Moss.
Yeah, and we've already got people in the chat. We got Eric Spencer here talking about his displeasure for the Ram commercial with the Vikings heading to Minneapolis in the Ram. And we have Dorian Foley here talking about some straight cash homie. Yeah. So, if you guys are here joining us, be sure to talk to us in the chat. We'll probably read some of your comments, interact with your questions. Who knows? It'll be a lot of fun. And we appreciate you guys coming and joining us.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Share this on your page, on your social media platforms. Get other people involved. But like Adam said, we'll shout you out. And we're going to run through some quick hits because, surprisingly, even though the offseason is starting, we got a lot of stuff to run through. So the show title...
There's always stuff to talk. There's never a week that we have to scramble for topics.
But we don't even have the Vikings keeping George Edwards on here.
Ooh.
Well, there you go. Quick hit number 1. The Vikings are keeping George Edwards.
Which is great because Zimmer gets to keep his guy around. The defense that has been so great in Minnesota doesn't have a whole lot of changes. I'm liking everything there.
Yeah, it's a big one. That's a good one.
He's staying, and I just got the notification about 20 minutes ago that Josh McDaniel's not going to Indy. So that's
right. So many places confirmed that too, and then had to backtrack. It's hilarious.
Wait! I've been at work all day. He's not going to Indy?
No. About 20 minutes ago, Adam Schefter confirmed it. So for all you guys that haven't heard yet, Indy's just kind of like, well, damn it. Now the search continues.
Yeah, Indy posted up. We've agreed to terms. Press conference will be Wednesday. Nope.
Oh,
apparently they have not agreed to terms.
It was supposed to be tomorrow?
The press conference was supposed to be tomorrow.
Oh, Josh, that's an asshole move. It's 8 p.m. East Coast time on Tuesday. What a jerk.
I wonder what happened.
He realized he was going to the Colts. And we don't even know if Andrew Luck's going to be playing because he's got some weird shoulder surgery. I don't know. But there's your NFL news to start the day. We're going to talk about other stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah, just kidding, guys. Not going to come be your head coach. Sorry.
Nah.
But today's episode is named after Randy Moss because this past Saturday, he was elected into the NFL Hall of Fame on the first ballot. So one of our own, one of the legends of Minnesota is going to be enshrined in Canton, and that is super awesome. Super happy for him. There's an emotional video out on Facebook. You can go look for it. He was super, super excited to get that knock on the door and to get told, hey, man, you're going in the hall.
Yeah, quite a few big names going in along with him, too. We got Ray Lewis, who has been an absolute just monster of a player, deserves to be there. T.O. getting in after a couple years of being denied. And I would have been kind of upset if Moss got in without T.O. So I'm glad to see them both getting in since it wasn't one or the other. We also got Brian Urlacher of the Bears. a longtime rival of the Vikings, who was one heck of a football player. Glad to see him get in. Brian Dawkins of the Eagles, squeezing in there, getting things done. Robert Brazil. Jerry Kramer finally got in after a long time. He had a long wait to get in. And Bobby Bethard. So it's one heck of a class. I mean, anytime you can get two premier wide receivers in at the same time, just an amazing, amazing class that's going to get a lot of attention. So if you have not booked your tickets to Canton, you're probably not getting in by now.
I'm really glad that they didn't do the one or the other thing. And it's like if you're eligible for the Hall of Fame, you're eligible for the Hall of Fame. And I
thought it was going to be T.O. this year and Moss next year.
That's really what I thought too. I'm super excited for Randy to get into the Hall of Fame. Like we talked about way back, I think on episode 1 of this podcast as to why we're fans. And for me, it comes down to Randy Moss. I was the right time. I was in middle school during that 98 season, and just watching him light it up on the field is why I became a Vikings fan. I remember when we were all out, dinking around in PE class or whatever, we would try to do the Randy Moss, like one-handed catch with a kickball or a football or whatever. And so, yeah, he's a big reason why I am a fan of the Vikings. And so I'm really excited and happy to see him make it to the Hall of Fame.
Eric Spencer just commented on what we were just talking about, how people being outraged that T.O. waited so long and that Randy Moss should have had to have waited a little bit, and that it's hypocritical to think that way. And I don't think it's hypocritical to think that way at all. I mean, T.O. and Randy Moss stats-wise are nearly identical. And I don't think that T.O.'s off-the-field stuff was bad enough to really warrant any kind of wait. So
no, I don't think so either. He just had reporters that didn't like him.
Yeah.
The reason why Randy, I think, got in, like politically, why he would get voted in first ballot is because, he has a nice career going with Fox News and with the media. And T.O. didn't. T.O. has always been very defensive and still to this day will attack the media, and I think that hurt T.O. More so than any off-the-field issues or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's so stupid, too, because, you said, it's like a personal vendetta. Well, all we're looking at is on the field, and it kind of makes me think of the baseball stuff, too, and that could bring some stuff in later. Oh, we don't let this guy in because he had performance-enhancing drugs. Cool. That legitimately, some call it cheating. It's a good way to enhance yourself, to separate yourself from others. It's not legal. T.O. never did that. And if you want to talk about his sit-ups in the driveway or his flashy personality, well, Randy Moss freaking mooned everyone in Green Bay. I mean, he was no spring chicken himself. You know what I mean? He wasn't.
There was always questions about Randy Moss giving 100% all the time. Right. There was instances with caterers and, other attitude issues. But as a whole, when you base these players on what they've done on the football field,
they changed the game.
They both did, and both deserved to be in as soon as possible. And I'm glad to see them both getting in. I thought Moss was going to have to wait a year.
I'm excited because at the end of the day, I remember Chris Carter saying something like, "It doesn't matter if you're first ballot or if it takes you 5 years to go in. When you're in the Hall of Fame, you're in the Hall of Fame."
Absolutely.
And so that's the important part of this.
I do have a transition for Adam, and I want to talk about two guys because one's a former Viking that got snubbed, but Steve Hutchinson didn't get in, which is trash. And Tony Baselli, probably one of the best tackles ever, didn't get it. I just can't. I can't even put words out right now. What the hell, guys?
The lack of love for the offensive line is offensive. Both those guys deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know if it's going to be 1 year, 2 years, or whatever, but both those guys will be enshrined, and I don't know when, but it will happen.
That's crap. They need to. I don't understand this. I feel like if you're not a quarterback or a wide receiver, you have to legitimately be within the top 10 or you're not going to get a serious consideration.
True.
And I think both of these guys could arguably be there. I know Baselli is. Hutch needs to be in. And I just want to throw that out there for Adam because he is our offensive line guru. And I'm right there with you, man. Can't wait to see him get in. I believe, just like you do, that he's going to get in one day.
And if you have never met Hutch, I got to meet him at the Super Bowl Experience when he was here. Really awesome guy. I put a photo down for him to sign. He signed it. It's supposed to be one autograph per person. He had a stack of photos there. He signed one and said, "Here, take this one too." I said, "Awesome, man. Thank you very much."
Super awesome.
It's pretty neat. I've always liked Hutch. He was a great part of this team, big part of this team. Amazing player. Seems like a really great guy on top of that too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
So moving right along, if you guys didn't watch the NFL Honors this weekend, first of all, Rob Riggle roasted the hell out of some people, and it was super fun to watch. Really funny guy. I enjoy his stuff that he does for the NFL on Sundays and some of the movies he's been in. But NFL Honors, you find out the MVP, offensive, defensive players of the year, blah, blah, blah. 2 Vikings, 1 former and 1 current, took some hardware home. And I actually have a debate that I wanted to ask you guys because I've asked some of my friends too. But if you guys didn't hear it by now, which I'm sure you have, the Minneapolis Miracle, divisional round against the Saints, 1 play of the year. And how fitting that it was in Minnesota. I forget who presented the award, but they said, how could you be in this town and not give that?
Michael Key.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I was crazy. Case Keenum got to come up and take credit for it, which is pretty sweet. Really great acceptance by him, just real humble, real short and sweet about it. And then former Vikings offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur won Assistant Coach of the Year, and I think So congrats to him. Obviously, if you guys are he's moved on to be the head coach of the New York Giants, but pretty cool that we got to see some love there. But my question to you guys was, I think they got it wrong with Coach of the Year and Sean McVay, and it's not to say that he wasn't a great coach and didn't do a stellar job. Kind of like when we had the Brady versus Montana argument. It's not to say Montana's a bum. I just think Tom's better. So I think it should have went to Doug Peterson or Mike Zimmer. Obviously, after this weekend, Doug Peterson, absolutely. But the Eagles and the Vikings both beat the Rams pretty easily.
The thing is, the Rams were such a poorly coached team for so long.
Yeah,
that they finally got somebody in that was able to take advantage of the talent that they had. Because last year, Todd Gurley was a footnote. He did not get used anywhere near the way he should have been.
Y'all forgot about him. That's how off of a season he had.
And I'm not saying that the Rams won't be great for years to come. I truly believe they will. I find it hard to believe when you got to compare what happened in scenarios. And the Vikings and the Eagles had the same kind of scenario with their quarterback going down. Now, obviously, they had let's be real, a better running tandem than we did as far as roster-wise. But when you lose your quarterback and your starting running back, the Eagles lost their MVP candidate quarterback. I just think, and both the teams beat them, both the teams went farther in the playoffs. I think it should have been to the edge to Mike Zimmer or Doug Peterson. But regardless, he was in the conversation. And speaking of that weekend, defensive player of the year was Aaron Donald from the Rams. But Harrison Smith and Xavier Rhodes, just a little thing to add in there because we talked about it in the chat, they each got a vote for defensive player of the year. So
they did.
Yeah, cool. I liked Adam's original. I liked Adam's original typo to us in the chat Hall of Fame, and I was like, "How did he get a vote for the Hall of Fame?"
That'd have been amazing.
Yeah, that would have been great. You gotta give him a little bit more time before you put him in the Hall of Fame, Adam.
Why not? Get him in there now. Pre-first ballot.
I'm not ready for Xavier Rhodes to retire. No.
So tying all this together. Speaking of the Vikings, and when we're talking about the Eagles just now, the Vikings are in search of a new offensive coordinator. And John DeFilippo from the Eagles quarterback coach, the staff over there, he's a name that's popped up, pretty popular name. If you guys didn't know, he's done a pretty good job with both Carson Wentz and Nick Foles this year. We can't officially interview him until after Valentine's Day. That's when his contract officially expires. Quote, going from quarterbacks coach to an offensive coordinator is considered a lateral move. The move can be blocked until his contract is officially over. So just in case you guys were wondering why we haven't hired someone yet, now you know.
Isn't that really weird that Shurmur can be interviewed while the Vikings are still in the playoffs and going through?
And I know there's a lot of little stuff about that I don't like. I don't like that. And then we'll talk about another one coming up when we do the key off-season dates. About the legal tampering period for teams and like, why is that the legal tampering period? But they can make a trade for Alex Smith and be like, sure, before the Super Bowl's even over. Fucking sure we can do this. Oh, come on. That irritates me.
And nobody really knows what a catch is. I mean, good job, NFL.
Yeah,
way to look really good when the XFL is coming in to kick your ass in 2 years.
Yeah, it's true.
They better figure all this stuff out. And the players have been adamant. A report came out this past week. The players are ready to go to war when it comes to the NFLPA versus the NFL.
Oh, yes.
So there's going to be some changes coming.
Hey, I'm telling you, what is it, Adam? 2020 XFL kickoff?
Yeah, it is.
Keep ticking the players off. They're going to have another league to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
I mean,
we're all in agreement here that they're probably going to figure it out a little bit better than they did last time. And a lot's changed since the XFL first tried.
I loved the XFL last time. I watched almost every game I could.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I think they're going to figure a lot of things out differently than before and try to do a better strategic move. Plus, Vince McMahon owns like a quarter of the world because he's so freaking rich. So
Right.
he can afford to do this again.
Plus, they've grown up a little bit too. Like they're not trying to be Jerry Springer of football, like they were Jerry Springer of wrestling. So they can just be like, and they are being like, "Hey, it's just a football league. Like we're just going to play football, and we're going to try to do it a little different and maybe a little better." So I think that's exciting. I personally want a team in Minnesota. I would be excited.
That'd be great.
For that. We got a great new stadium. Bring in a team. I'd go to that. I'd buy tickets.
Yeah, I'd go.
Shit, $14 tickets.
Stadium. The XFL needs to be hardcore. Let them have an outdoor stadium. They do it.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. So the Super Bowl was this past weekend. We'll go ahead and get that one out of the way just for the spoiler. The Eagles beat the Patriots, and it was an amazing game. Yeah, oh my God. Spoiler alert.
Whoa.
But
spoilers.
Of course, 3 days later, they're already talking about next year because why not? Because it's 2018, and that's what we do.
Have to.
The Vikings have 12-1 odds to win the Super Bowl next year. And I'm reading in the notes, turn the volume down for bad language, according to the dipshits in Vegas. So, yeah. 12-1 odds is pretty good. That's better than what we've had before. So,
yeah, they released the odds for the Super Bowl in the next 2 years. And, of course, next year is being played at the Apple Pie Dome down in Atlanta.
The Apple Pie Dome.
Where there will be no Chick-fil-A available.
No, I'm not going now. I was going to go, but now I'm not. I'm just not going. No, got that shit.
$4,000 for a ticket, but I'll be damned if you can get a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Pretty funny.
I bet you could in Minnesota. I don't know. Do we have Chick-fil-A in our stadium? I have no idea.
Probably not, because they're smart enough not to have it on freaking Sunday.
I did not see a Chick-fil-A in there.
Speaking of in the stadium, Eagles fan that stole the seat, coming for you. Put that seat back.
Oh, he's been well identified by now, and I'm sure that they are tracking down his information.
Oh, freaking guy.
Not that the stadium probably doesn't have plenty of spare seats to go and install one, but I think it's more about, just the theft and the destruction of the whole thing.
How did he get it through security? I don't know.
He tucked it under his jacket. Did you see the picture?
Yeah, that blurry picture from that 19
Oh my goodness
Polaroid camera that was on the internet.
I don't know.
Scott Schwab wants to know if we'd go and watch the Lingerie Football League. And do you know what? Those ladies hit each other so damn hard. I think I've watched a couple games, and the hits that those ladies put on each other are incredible. And the fact they're not wearing a lot of padding and stuff makes it even scarier.
Scott, if we were best friends, would you want to do karate in the garage? Hell yes, I'd go watch the Lingerie Football League. Absolutely.
Do you guys remember that weird flag football league that was on ESPN that had like Jimmy Clausen?
And no, Michael I don't.
Yeah, they played like one game, and it was like Jimmy.
Oh, wow.
It was like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. It was terrible. Jimmy Clausen looked horrible playing flag football. It was amazing.
That's weird.
You should watch it on YouTube.
Balls and it's going to hurt really bad. Jimmy Clausen was really bad in flag football.
He was terrible. Like, absolutely terrible.
I love it. God, we talk about everything on the show. You guys are welcome.
That's what the offseason will do to you.
Going back to the other one, we were talking about the Super Bowl next year. So I'm going to switch these last two bullets because the last one's a little bit more talk-worthy, and I want to get some responses out of everyone. The Vikings are ranked 4th in ESPN's off-season power rankings already. The Patriots are 1st, the Eagles are 2nd, the Steelers are 3rd, Vikings at number 4, and the Jaguars are in at number 5. That list needs to be shifted around. The Jaguars and us need to move up a little bit. The Steelers should be 5th because the Jaguars soundly swept the Steelers this year.
And if the Steelers end up messing around too much and Le'Veon Bell decides to sit out a year, they are in some big trouble.
Yeah, I don't know what it is between Washington not wanting to pay Kirk Cousins and then the Eagles not wanting to hook up Le'Veon Bell. Like, I don't know what's going on with all these teams. Like, we have a really good player. Let's find a way to mess that up real quick.
That's a good off-season. That's a good off-season idea. Who's our best player? Let's just not pay them and make them angry.
Right. Good idea.
Yeah.
Big Ben's not the best in Steeler land anymore. It's definitely Antonio Brown, but Le'Veon Bell is a very close second.
I'll say 1A and 1B on those two.
Absolutely, and they just want to keep franchising this guy. So I don't know what they're doing, but I'm glad the Vikings don't have those problems. But speaking of the aforementioned Kirk Cousins, drum roll please, because he's coming to Minnesota, guys. Because I know my other guys really want to overpay for this dude and have him be our quarterback. That's sarcasm, by the way. According to K-Fans, Paul Allen, he received a text message from a legit source saying, quote, Kirk Cousins has been telling people this week that the Vikings are number one with a bullet on his preference list. If offers are similar, he's definitely taking the Vikings. Yeah, there's that. So,
yep.
I'm going to talk about this later, guys. I have good thoughts and bad thoughts on Kirk versus everyone else. We're going to get into that later. But right now, the main topic for the day are the key dates for the offseason and the Super Bowl. So I'm going to let these guys break this down because they know a little bit more about this than I do. That's a lot more than me.
All right, so right now the Vikings' plan is to bring in their players on future reserve contracts to have their camp bodies in. They want to try to re-sign as many players as possible, get their coaching staff settled. The Vikings have gone on record as saying their top priority this offseason right now is getting that offensive coordinator position set, and then they're going to worry some more about free agents. Not on the key dates for the offseason list is deciding when the NFL will make a decision on whether or not Teddy Bridgewater's contract will toll, if he'll be a free agent this offseason or next season. We still don't know for sure, so I don't have a for sure date as to when the Vikings will know either. So that is something to watch for, and I'm definitely going to keep my eyes open for that as well.
I think that's the first order of business. Rick Spielman got asked it a million times last week on many platforms, ESPN, NFL, whoever was interviewing him. It's one of the things that he kept talking about. Everybody wants an answer. I don't know why they asked this because everybody knows by now they're not going to give it away. Like, it's kind of stupid at this point. It's kind of like going up to the Pats and be like, hey, can you guys give us a couple of your plays and tell us what they're called and what happens? Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll do that. Like, I don't know why they waste the time because you know you're going to get this bland, boring-ass answer from these GMs and players and whoever else. But Adam Thielen was asked it. Rick Spielman, Case Keenum was asked it. Stephon Diggs was asked it. But you got to get an offensive coordinator in place first, like Adam was saying, so you can figure out what style of offense you're going to run, and then we can pick down the line, which every one of those people that I just mentioned said we're in the best position in the NFL. We have 3 legitimate starters, and there's free agency. So,
well, we do know that Brad Childress won't be the Vikings' new offensive coordinator since he accepted a position with the Bears. He retired from the Chiefs to go to the Bears.
Of all teams, the Chicago Bears.
What?
I actually, you know what? I guess they got a good young quarterback that he can screw up for him.
Is he is he an advisor again? What's his role?
I have not looked at what his specific role is, but I'm sure it's something interesting.
What was the totally made-up position that Andy Reid gave him?
Spread game analyst or something like that?
Yeah, I still don't even know what that is.
Nobody knows.
What is a spread game analysis?
He is the offensive consultant.
Offensive consultant. Okay. Okay.
Oh, Brad Childress.
That's totally made up. How is this dude?
Kyle's favorite coach in Viking history.
He's just getting made up jobs in the league. How do I do that? That's a great paycheck.
How about
I am assistant to the regional manager, not assistant regional manager.
Yeah.
That's a good Office reference.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we're going through the dates here. We've got February 5th, waivers begin. And then we got February 20th with being able to apply the franchise or transitional tag. I don't know if the Vikings will be using either one of those. They've been rather stringent on using them. And
today, guys.
What's that?
I'm looking at it yesterday's when the waiver system started, and you said February 20th. So that's 2 weeks.
February 5th for the waivers.
Yes, waivers were yesterday. Sorry about that. And then 2 weeks from today, they can do the franchise transition. That's not that far away.
No, it's not. And I don't believe the Vikings will tag anybody with franchise or transition unless they are attempting to sign them to a long-term deal. I could actually see the Vikings slapping a franchise tag on Anthony Barr while they work out a deal like they did with Chad Greenway, and some of the other players they have in the past. But I don't believe them. I don't think they'll actually use it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to remember the last time the Vikings, underneath Rick Spielman, used the franchise tag, and that was, you were right, that was Chad Greenway, right?
It was, and they only used it to let teams know that we are not letting him go. Don't bother calling him, that kind of thing.
We should franchise tag him again. Right now, just to be like, Chad.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Like you. Just pat on the back, a franchise tag.
And of course, there'll be a lot of smaller combines and practices in between there. And that'll all lead up to the NFL Scouting Combine on February 27th to March 5th, when we're going to get to see a lot of the young college players get their first real exposure as far as a lot of fans seeing them. Because let's be honest, not a lot of NFL fans follow the NCAA extremely closely. And even then, you got a lot of small school guys that don't get a lot of television time. And this could be their first chance to really impress fans and get a look at what they could be in the NFL. March 6th, we got the 3 p.m. deadline for the franchise and transitional tags. So it's kind of interesting that they get the 20th all the way up to the 6th to make that decision. But sometimes, there's that period where you got to try to work things out, and you try to tag a player that doesn't want to be tagged. For example, I've heard that the Redskins are actually considering tagging Cousins again.
They're
giant
one of the worst, if not the worst, management group in the NFL. I heard about what I read from that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is they want to do that so it takes them away from being an unrestricted free agent, and then they can kind of choose where it goes. Also, right. I believe other teams that would be interested would have to absorb some of that, if I'm not mistaken, because. Dude, the Redskins messed up so bad that first off, they didn't tell Kirk Cousins until the day after it was already national, because he told everyone about that last week during the Super Bowl, which is really messed up. And then, you're not going to be the guy anymore. And now they're just trying to nickel and dime him. I feel like the Redskins upper management just does tequila shots and tries to throw darts at a wheel to be like, all right, what are we going to do today, guys?
And then they call their quarterbacks by the wrong first name.
Kirk Cousins, everyone. Kirk's evil twin.
You can like him or not like him, but come on, just let the guy go. Just for the sake of him being this is his. If you guys don't want him, don't franchise tag him. Don't make it more difficult for him to find work. Just let the guy go already.
It's like that ex-girlfriend you just can't give up on.
Only it's Kirk
Been
Cousins.
there, done that.
I don't get.
So let's see, what else do we got here? We have the legal tampering period beginning on March 12th to March 14th.
Which is just made up. Just totally made up. Don't matter.
Oh, God.
March 14th is the start of the NFL season when trades can begin. And as you guys know, ESPN and NFL Network have a blast with that. They got the big trade deadline special, and you got everybody sitting around the phones, and trades are always made beforehand, so you always kind of know who's going where a little bit, but there's always usually a couple head scratchers that keep things really interesting, which is fun. March 25th to 28th is the annual league meeting in Orlando. This is when all the owners meet up and decide on presenting some options for rules, changes.
And tell Jerry Jones to just leave and die.
Oh, man.
That was harsh.
April 20th is the deadline. Wait a minute, we're at April 16th. Teams with returning head coaches can begin off-season workouts. April 20th is the deadline for restricted free agents to sign offer sheets. Otherwise, they become unrestricted free agents. And then we got the NFL draft coming up April 26th through 28th. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of the draft. I love trying to guess who's going to go where and who could fit in where. I usually do a lot of research as far as to who I like as far as players that might fit with the Vikings. So I'm really looking forward to that. April 4th to 7th or May 11th to 14th. Who's typing this stuff?
Hey, that's what I found on the list.
Teams can hold 1 or 3 day mini camp for draft picks, unsigned free agents, and tryouts. And then May 21st, 23rd is the spring league meetings where the votes are made on the rules that were kind of decided a little bit when it comes to the meeting with the annual league meeting in Orlando. So we got a lot going on this offseason, and even though it seems like it's a long time till football, it's a slow process to get everything to where it is. And with all these steps coming up, we're going to have plenty to talk about each week, so no worries. We'll be here to talk you through all this stuff.
It's a lot to burn through, guys, but something to think about in between there. It's February the 6th right now. So if you can fast forward to maybe this weekend-ish, maybe the next week. It's only 2 months away until right before the NFL draft. So the next 60 days are going to be really boring. You can follow the NBA or college basketball is what I'll do to fill the time. But a lot of this stuff, and why I laugh too, like March 12th and 14th, right after my birthday, it's legal tampering period begins. Yet we have a deal in place between an organization and another organization to get a quarterback down. And Rick Spielman didn't buy into that crap at all. Because they asked him about Kirk Cousins maybe coming to the Vikings. He's like, well, I can't talk about players because of tampering.
Right?
Why can't you? But the Redskins and the Chiefs have already agreed to a deal. Like, what? And then we don't know what a catch is. So maybe on May 21st or 23rd, they can just come and be like, hey, guys, can we figure this out? Because this is kind of important because catches happen a lot.
If I was a betting man, the NFL will somehow find a way to make things worse this offseason. Like they will just find a way to make. Here's what a catch is. Nope. We just made it more complex than before. More replay, more stoppage, more arbitrary rules that don't make any sense. That's their overall plan.
And that's what happens when you keep Roger Goodell around for a long time.
Yep.
Hey, trying to settle down exactly what is what with so many weird situations coming up. It's hard to know. It should go back to having less rules and actually be more dependent on the referee's decision. And I know that adds for more grounds for, more discrepancy as far as to whether a catch is a catch or not. But like Vince McMahon said, and I know we keep going back to this XFL stuff, when you see a catch, you know a catch.
Yeah. I mean, this is just my opinion here. I think the coaches' challenges are fine. Keep that system the way it is. I don't think there should be any replay until the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. I think that's the only time that the booth should be able to, stop a play, replay it, and look at it. Otherwise, I think that no replay. The coach can throw the challenge flag and keep that same system in place. But otherwise, just go by what the refs are calling on the field. And that means that does mean that you have to make the rules simpler so that the refs can make the correct call the first time around.
Eric Spencer, they've already outlawed the note cards on measurements so that we won't see that ever again. Thank goodness.
The one of the things I would like to see changed is, if you're going to catch a ball in the end zone, or if you're going to catch the ball before the end zone, just like the runners, if they break the plane, if you have possession of the ball, but you don't take those first two steps, I think it should be the same exact thing as when they run. I don't understand how that's not a thing either. Something, I don't know. The catch thing's going to be really huge. They're probably going to try to make it more safe, just like they do every year. So who knows what's going to go with that. But would like to see something along the lines of, if you cross a plane as a runner, if there's that weird window of when you catch a ball, but you're really close, like on a 3rd and goal, it should be the same thing. Because that was really weird what happened this weekend with the Eagles player who lost, and it was Zach Ertz. I know he ran a couple of steps, so I don't know if he turned into a runner, and that's why. But there's all these questions. Like, fans and teams shouldn't have this many questions. We should know, all right, that's a catch, like you said. Yeah. That's not a catch. Yeah. But hopefully that's something that they can take into effect and start to change.
I mean, it shouldn't be that difficult. We've talked about this before, where if you're at a bar with your friends and everyone in the bar goes, that's a catch, but then according to the NFL rule book, it's not a catch. That's not a good rule. I
don't even care if the rule makes sense or not, as long as it's consistent. That's what I want. If Jesse James's catch wasn't a catch, then Zach Ertz's catch wasn't a catch.
I don't even know.
That photo up.
I don't know.
Jesse James and then the Des Bryant catch in Green Bay a couple years ago. All three were kind of similar, and there was a couple different outcomes.
I don't understand the ruling on any of them.
Roger Goodell does. There's an algorithm up there in that mashed potato.
No, he doesn't. You can't tell me he understands it.
All right, I'm going to jump in before the social media question. I'm going to talk about the Purple People Podcast Survival League, where we have a winner. Choosing 45 points compared to 35, we have a winner. John Knobloch is our winner of the Purple People Podcast Survival League. Purple Skull Nation is our new winner, unseating our back-to-back champion. We have put together a prize package, which I've been informed that I put too much stuff in there. That's what one of our hosts has said. So I don't know if I got to pull some stuff out or what the case is. So
I don't.
No, now you can't do it. Now you're on record.
You didn't put too much stuff in there. Adam was very generous in putting this together. Very generous. So
it's a good prize package, guys.
If there's more than one reason, first being that we're awesome and you just love Vikings news and a couple of Joe Schmoes talking about the Vikings every week. This is something you can look forward to every year, and you get a chance to, and you don't have to pay a dime for it. So,
and we do want to thank everyone for playing. We had a fantastic time. I played along. I made it almost to the end of the regular season, so I had fun with it. I'm glad that each of you guys has an opportunity to beat me because I'm not great at it. But like I said, I was competitive this year, and that was way better. So next year, we're going to do the same thing. Be sure to tell your friends. Let's get a big old community going. And if you can, tell them, hey, if you're enjoying this league, check out the podcast once in a while. We appreciate that as well. It's our way of thanking you guys for listening, sharing, interacting, all that kind of fun stuff. So that's it for this year. I do want to congratulate John on the victory. And, of course, I'm still waiting on that final piece, like I told you, of the prize package. As soon as it arrives, I'll be putting the package together and mailing it out. I'll make sure to send a notification as to when I'm mailing it out along with the tracking number, all that kind of stuff, because I am not sending this without a tracking number.
Absolutely not.
Get that insurance on that.
So, we'll definitely let you know when we mail it out, and thanks again for everyone for playing.
Congrats, man. Congrats on winning. It's a really cool pack. Adam told us what all was in there. We'll build a suspense and not tell you what's in there yet, but you're going to enjoy it. There's no doubt in my mind. Before I jump into the social media question, I just want to run through the Super Bowl real quick because it happened. It was in Minnesota. Justin Timberlake performed the halftime show. In Minnesota? What's that?
Yes, it was in Minnesota.
Oh, I didn't hear you, man. It came in late. Oh. So 74 total points were scored, the most yardage ever in any game in NFL history, which is insane. 41-3, the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the New England Patriots. It looked like New England was going to come back in old-fashioned last-minute drive. There was a Hail Mary that could have set them up for 2 to go in overtime yet again. That was not to be. Nick Foles played the game of his life, and we thought he played the game of his life against the Vikings. Well, he decided to repeat it again against the Patriots. 3 TDs, 1 pick, actually caught a touchdown, 373 yards. Overall, 106.1 rating. Tom Brady had freaking 505 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 115 rating.
That's amazing.
Yeah. For people,
that's amazing. That's a lot of yardage.
About how he's not the greatest of all time. This was not Tom Brady's game to lose. In my opinion, this came down to one play, I believe, in the fourth quarter where Tom Brady was strip sacked and then fumbled, and then the Eagles recovered the ball. Other than that, it was a shootout the entire game. Here's another crazy stat. There was only 1 punt in the entire game. That's nuts. And the usual trusted kicker for New England Patriots, Stephen Gostkowski, missed a field goal and an extra point, which is really weird. I was screaming Blair Walsh when it happened, just to be an asshole.
We all were. We all did that.
This is the thing that was the craziest part to me, because Nick Foles had a season where he threw 27 touchdowns and 2 picks. So he has proved to us before that he can play football. But I want to talk about this rushing attack because Kamara and Ingram in New Orleans had the crown this year. We were right behind them. But they had freaking LeGarrette Blount, who's a starter, and Jay Ajayi, who was a starter in Miami. I want you to listen to the average of 2 quarterbacks in the biggest game. 2 running backs, the biggest game of the year. LeGarrette Blount, 14 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. 6.4 yards average. Holy crap. Jay Ajayi says, that's okay, hold my beer. 9 carries, 57 yards, 6.3 average between 2 running backs. That's insane. And between those guys, so there's one guy, 9 9 yards, 1 carry, 8 yards, 3 carries. So between those guys, about 150 some yards, which is nuts. But I don't want to talk about other teams too long. If you guys didn't watch, man, if anybody, and I said it before the show started, anybody thought Nick Foles is going to be a Super Bowl MVP ever, much less this year, show me in writing and I'll give you my paycheck for an entire month, because nobody picked that out. But congrats to Philly, man. They finally got a title. They were one of the Super Bowl-less teams, and now they have one. And, man, they're going to have Carson Wentz back. And if they don't lose anybody major, they're going to be pretty scary. But it was a damn good game. Like I said earlier, Justin Timberlake played the halftime show, did a little homage to Prince, which was really cool. I thought it was kind of a meh halftime show, but it was still pretty cool. But overall, it was a very, very entertaining game if you guys didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, not a lot of defense during that game. So if you liked offense, that was a good one for you.
Ooh, 1 punt, guys. 1 punt and 74 total points. So there you have it. I just want to throw the Super Bowl stuff out there because it was in Minnesota. And
Scott Schwab says that Matt Patricia being signed to the Lions, the Vikings will need to make sure their offense is ready to roll. That signing does not scare me whatsoever, to be honest. The Patriots defense has been horrible for way too long, and despite having picks in there and bringing in quality free agents, they have not been able to accomplish much of anything. So far, I'm not too excited about Matt Patricia in Detroit. He's going to have to prove some stuff to me if he wants to show me that he is ready to take on the task in Detroit. But I understand wanting to have that traditional winning, and then sometimes that's more important. So I don't know.
I think he's a good hire for them. I don't think it's great. And also, when you're working for Bill Belichick, he calculates every single move at every position for every single game. He's just not going to have that consistency there. And New England likes to do a lot with nothing. And I don't see that reciprocating in Detroit. Now, he's going to have a good quarterback to work with.
He's got a good pass rush, too.
Got a good pass rush. Got a really good safety, I can't remember if Darius Slay's a corner or a safety.
Corner.
Really good corner, too. But I'm with you, Adam. It doesn't necessarily scare me. I think that's a good hire for Detroit, considering all the other guys that were out there. But nothing that's going to keep us up at night because, I mean, like you said, the Patriots aren't known for having a dominating defense. It's mostly Tom Brady and some no-name receiver and then Gronk. Just
right.
Magic every single week. So that was good. But
Sergio Moreno says, I'm more scared of Brad Childress going to the Bears. Oh, my goodness.
And his made-up position.
I have the social media question up from last week. If you guys want me to tackle that real quick. Last week, the Adam List show went crazy because, of course, we said it was going to be 30 minutes, and it went over an hour because that's what me and Kyle do. We were
don't leave us unattended.
Don't. We need an adult here, and that's Adam every time. So we talked about it on the show, and then we asked you because the show was kind of late last week because we were all bummed out about the the Eagles game. So. Social media question posted Thursday. Who's your offensive MVP? And we only had a couple of responses, but I can read them all. Matthew Heath has the comment of the week was CJ Ham, which I love.
Hey, CJ Ham, he did a great job this year as a lead blocker. I know the yards per carry weren't up there, but the Vikings were in the top 10 in rushing yards. So I like that.
I love it. And anytime we can use a fullback effectively, I love this team because that means we're running the ball very well.
And I felt bad because I went to the NFL experience. I got to meet CJ Ham, and I didn't have a photo for him because he wasn't on the schedule, so I had to have him sign a little Super Bowl note card. It was like, come on, man.
Oh, that sucks. You got to have a whole thing next time. You just got to have every Viking ever. And
I know, right? You never know who's going to pop up where.
That's so cool you got to meet him. That's pretty sweet. Scott Conrad says Case Keenum. So does Dan Knutson. Case Keenum, without him, we wouldn't be talking about the other two.
I'm pretty sure that's Knutson.
Knutson? Well, I'm sorry about that. You guys can send me hate mail.
Because that is my grandpa's name.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's your Southern education showing hard right here.
Knutson.
Sorry. Knutson. How do you say it was? Knutson?
Knutson.
Ooh, okay. That's pretty sweet. Sorry, Dan. You can send me hate mail. Darren Roach says, definitely Case Keenum. All offensive players played a huge role this past season, but Keenum was the chess master. His floaters in the last few games scared the crap out of me, but he definitely deserves some major props. He likes Adam Thielen as one of the favorites. And McKinnon played a big role, he says, as well. The favorite player on the defensive side is Linval Joseph. That's pretty cool because that's what we're going to talk about next week for you guys. But he mentions that I forgot who said it on one of the podcasts, but he is the best signing under Zimmer's watch so far, talking about free agents. I would agree.
Who is the best signing?
Linval Joseph under Mike Zimmer under the Mike Zimmer regime. He said
I was thinking offensive, and I was going to say, I don't know. I was not very high on the Vikings bringing in Riley Rafe, but he played really well this year.
Yeah, I remember that show. I remember you weren't too stoked about it.
No, I was not a fan of that, and I was not sure about how he'd perform at left tackle, but he was pretty darn solid this year. I
wasn't a big fan of Mike Remmers from all my Panther fans. It said, good luck, kind of like we did the trade with Matt Khalil. It's like, have fun.
And they ended up having to move him inside and put a guy from Jacksonville's practice squad at right tackle.
Dear sweet Jesus. Let's not talk about that.
I still don't get that.
That's a huge question.
That was a dumb decision.
That was awful. My buddy David Ortson says, stat-wise, I would say Adam Thielen, but we know the quarterback gets the credit. For actual value, I'd give it to the two-headed monster, Murray and McKinnon. After Cook went down, they stepped up huge to balance the offense out and open things up for my guy Thielen. So that's a good point. I like that one. And, we have a Dragon Ball Z fan, Jaron DBZ Fan Pack. That's the name that I'm looking at.
Oh, yeah, he's a regular with us. He's a regular interactor, and he's got lots of great Vikings merchandise.
He says, man, that's really hard. Thielen and Diggs are amazing, but in terms of the season, I'll go with Thielen. In playoffs, I would say Diggs. So I gave I put a little four-piece up there. I had Keenum, Thielen, Diggs, and question mark if there was someone else on the offense that you liked. I like all those answers, man. Those are all – and they kind of spread around too. So we'll be asking you the same question next week. And thank you to those who interacted. But we're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball. Who's your defensive MVP for the Vikings this season? And I'll post that up tonight after this show so we can talk about it next week.
For sure.
Oh, man.
Where'd the bold statement go, guys? Come on.
Oh, I took that one out. That's super funny. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of Kirk Cousins tonight, and I want to get everyone's thoughts because I asked about it on the Facebook page, not as a social media question, just in general, because I really wanted to get everyone's thoughts there. And I'm going to name you the pros first because he's not a bad quarterback, but he's not worth the money that's going to be coming. That's kind of what it boils down to. Stats-wise, the guy shines pretty good, comparable stats to Matt Ryan over the last 3 years. Nice, bold statement in there. I like it. I'm not like Ron Burgundy. I'm not going to read what's on the teleprompter. But stat-wise, yeah, he's got the same kind of stats as Matt Ryan. I don't think that he necessarily has the best roster like Minnesota would offer him. Versus the three guys that we have, I think he's an upgrade over all three. Not by much because I don't want people to throw knives at me. I'm not sure what the balance is with Teddy and the knee. The last good year Teddy had, he only threw 14 touchdowns, which really concerns me. There wasn't a lot of deep field, down the field passing. But to caveat and to take up for Teddy on that one, he didn't have the team that we have and the offensive coordinator we had, so who knows. Bradford's knees are made of glass. I love the time that he's been with us, but he's just not healthy enough to trust. And the enigma and the question mark there is Case Keenum. How much money do we want to pay him? I'd be totally fine with Case Keenum coming back, giving him a shot because I love the heart that he plays with. But we have to take into consideration this was the only good year that he's had as a starter. And it's just that plain and simple. And I think a lot of that, if not all of it, goes to Pat Shurmur and the roster, not necessarily Case Keenum. So with all that said, I would love to gain Kirk Cousins as the quarterback for the Vikings. I would not, however, want to pay him $30 million and pay him more than a guy like Matt Stafford or Aaron Rodgers because he's simply not as good as those guys.
I counterpointed this with you, Mr. Smith, in our chat because I felt like Kirk Cousins doesn't have the kind of accuracy that Minnesota needs to flourish in the system they have with the defense they have.
Right.
Kirk Cousins had one of the worst third down conversion percentages in the NFL. He has a horrible deep passing accuracy rating, way worse than Teddy Bridgewater. I just don't understand the fit for the system. I understand that he is a quarterback that has starting experience, that he's had some great comebacks in his history, but I don't think he's going to be anywhere near a franchise quarterback. I think he could be another stopgap if that's what they're looking for. But at this point, the Vikings shouldn't be looking for another stopgap quarterback.
No, absolutely not. And as far as who's going to be on the roster, we have a lot of advantages. I think he is the best free agent available, if not quarterbacks. He's going to be the best one available.
Oh, Drew Brees, number one.
He's not going anywhere. I'm going to scratch that one. Him and Sean Payton and their GM have already said many times in many interviews, he ain't going anywhere. A lot of guys said that too. I saw that on the internet, and they got their hopes up. There was a fake Adam Schefter photo that I just
oh, that was terrible.
I destroyed it on the last show, and I'm not going to go into it again. But if you guys can't just Google Adam Schefter's official account and see if he actually said that, the shame goes on you for not checking that, because a lot of people believe that some jerk made that fake photo and made it look real. But yeah, if Drew Brees was on the market, name your price. I'd take him for a year. But yeah, what it boils down to for me is just I don't want to pay Kirk Cousins that much because I don't think he's that good. I think he's a decent one. I can't believe that Washington has screwed up that many years in a row with this guy, because who out there is better than him that you're going to bring in? Because you're going to pay Alex Smith, who's older, to do the same job that Kirk Cousins was doing when you could have just kept him. He's a fourth-round pick, for God's sake.
But the Redskins are picking up a more accurate quarterback who's much better on third downs and can keep drives alive.
Yeah, but what comes with that, too, is the Chiefs have a way better roster than the Redskins do. So good luck doing that with those players in Washington that we have no idea who they are. I think the game he played with us, the best throw of the game was to a guy they signed off the practice squad on the first drive.
Oh, yes.
I was like, what? But that's my take on it. I'll give it to you now, the bold statement, and this will be for the month of February because I don't know if I'm going to have another one. Teddy Bridgewater will come back to the Vikings. It's not very bold, but Teddy Bridgewater will stay. Bradford will definitely be gone because of the money that he'll ask for and the inconsistency with health. I don't know what the hell Case Keenum's going to do. I think he gets signed to another team. But the Vikings believe too much in Teddy Bridgewater, and I believe he'll be our guy this year starting week 1.
Teddy Sloter and a free agent. That's what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm. We shall see. Adam made the prediction.
We're
Teddy
going to
Slaughter.
combine the two into one quarterback.
Please.
We're splice them together.
Oh, yeah.
Adam mentioned it in the chat for you guys. For us, in between the three of us, he thinks he could bring in a veteran like Josh McCown or somebody who's just Ryan Fitzmagic or somebody like that.
Please don't ever say that again.
People said the same thing at Case Keenum.
Oh.
Yeah, they did.
But he's not like 80.
Yeah, well, that's true. We'll see. There's a lot of quarterback needy teams out there that are going to go after Kirk Cousins and maybe the likes of Case Keenum. They're going to draft some guys. Cleveland, Denver, New York, Buffalo. So we'll see. There's going to be some shakeup at the quarterback position. There's going to be a new face on this team for sure. It's just who's it going to be? I think we're going to stick with Teddy as the starter going forward because Mike Zimmer loves him, and he's super young. So maybe he comes back from the injury and he's better than ever.
Eric Spencer in the chat likes the idea of us looking at another Louisville quarterback, Lamar Jackson, if he falls to the end of the first round.
Hey, he's a playmaker. I don't know that he's big enough to play in the NFL, but he is a former Heisman winner. So
it'd be hard to not justify giving him a look at that point. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of other teams that are hard up enough for a quarterback that they're going to be taking a long, hard look at him. But at this point, you got to leave everything on the table. I don't think there's any options that the Vikings can look at right now where they say, no, we're not going to look at that at all.
Yeah, I don't think we're in that position.
This is only the most important decision Rick Spielman has had with this team.
I agree.
Yeah, this is huge.
I'd say the only other decision that he had to make was Teddy versus Carr. I think that was the only other huge decision he had to make.
Yeah, and both had injuries, and one came back and didn't look anything like his former self this year. So who knows how that would have went.
I think they both came back and didn't look anything like their former selves.
No, I know, and that's one of the things that I didn't like.
I'm not going to hold that against him.
I won't either, but I had to. I had to go there.
That was one series, too. My boy was getting no love on the Chris Sims quarterback list for that reason. They were like, Teddy Bridgewater came back for one play and threw an interception. Like, dude, that's one play. Get out of here. But that's just me.
But yeah, the quarterback situation is going to be the most talked about thing for the Vikings. So we'll be here talking about it every week, pretty much forever. So if you like quarterback talk, we're going to be doing it.
And even after they make a decision, guess what? We still get to talk about it because then we get to talk about whether or not it was a good decision or a bad decision.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Definitely true.
I'll throw in an extra little nugget for the bold statement. I think if he hasn't been taken already by the time the tampering period or whatever up, I think we're going to go with the guy from Philly, because how can you not give him the nod over everyone else with doing what he did with Carson Wentz and then Nick freaking Foles this year? I think he's the front runner to be the new offensive coordinator. Not sure about you guys, but that's just how I feel.
Absolutely.
If he doesn't become the head coach of Indy now that they don't have one.
Yeah, otherwise, that is all I have for this week. I already gave a big shout out to our Survival League winner. I appreciate everybody who joins us in the chat, listens to us on iTunes and Stitcher and PodOMatic, Google Podcasts. I don't even know where else we are here. We're on, I don't know, Spreaker, Stitcher, PodOMatic, everywhere. If it has podcasts, you can probably find us there. We are also, every show that we record goes up on the Viking Age. So if you have the Viking Age app, you'll get notified of the show every time after we get done. Usually about half an hour afterwards, I'll have it up on there for everybody. So even if you're a little bit of a late bird, you can get a notification. Otherwise, if you want to join us live, like Scott Schwab, Eric Spencer, Hobna, and the others in the live chat here, come on YouTube and hit that little bell button down next to the subscription box, and you'll get notified every time we come online. You can also give us thumbs up. We always appreciate that. You can share us in your groups on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you are. I don't know. But
LinkedIn.
People use LinkedIn. I was surprised to find that out, that people still use LinkedIn.
I got a request on it the other day. It's pretty funny.
But yeah, do you guys have anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, I got stuff to plug. The official Purple People podcast MySpace page coming soon. I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. Although maybe if there's a demand for it, we'll get on MySpace. You can find me on the Comedy Bowl podcast, episode number 15. That's over on podbean.com. It is the Comedy Bowl podcast.
That sounds super
the title.
It does. It sounds official, man.
Yeah, the title is kind of amazing. It's called Shut Up, I Like My Peanut Butter Licks from My Butthole on Halloween. And there is a reason why the episode is called that. So you have to listen. Otherwise, you can find me over on the Shut Up, I Like This Movie podcast. That's over. The link is down in the description here on the YouTube page, where we talk about movies. And we are going to be doing some really cool stuff soon. We're going to be switching to a video format, and Jeff has like a big, huge green screen where we can do like full-on green screen. We can project, like if we're talking about Batman, we can project Gotham City behind us. So it's going to be some fun stuff going on over on that one.
So you're going to have Tim Tebow behind you a lot, ain't you?
So much Tim Tebow. You have no idea. It's just all the Tebow.
Before we go, we got a question in the chat here. Will the Vikings try to keep Jerick McKinnon? And this, to me, is one of the most underrated stories in the NFL, because Jerick McKinnon wants a more featured role with a team. He's not going to get that in Minnesota behind Dalvin Cook and a share with Latavius Murray. I don't think he'll even really consider sticking around with a team where he's got that three-way split. I think he'll end up going to a team where there's a two-way split, even if they end up paying a little less than what Minnesota wanted, just to get that little bit more of a featured role. So I do think that the Vikings lose Jerick McKinnon, but I do also believe that they are going to be looking at drafting a kind of elusive, shifty running back, probably in the mid-rounds of the draft.
Jerick McKinnon is gone because Dalvin Cook can do whatever Jerick McKinnon does, and he's the second-round pick. And I don't say that with any disrespect to Jerick McKinnon's name. He's
done some fantastic things for Minnesota.
He's always been there when his number's called. I can't think of one time where Jerick McKinnon lost the game for us or didn't show up. He always kind of just surprises you because he's just that sneaky good at what he does. But I think with what Dalvin Cook does, you can ask Dalvin Cook to do whatever you want Jerick McKinnon to do, and then we have Latavius to go up the middle and do that weird running motion that he has.
And then they'll save money by using a draft pick.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I really like I really like Jerick McKinnon, but I think that he can find a better situation for himself elsewhere in the league. Just like what you said, Adam. It's unfortunate that he's going to end up walking. They should have they should have moved on from Adrian Peterson a couple years sooner and featured McKinnon more. I think the team would have been better off doing that.
Yeah, McKinnon, Asiato, they did fine for a while.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
I'm excited for Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook's going to have a bright future, and he will be one that they will not just be renting for a rookie contract. Like Dalvin Cook will get a long-term deal with this team when it comes time.
I totally agree. All right, I do want to finish up the show by plugging a couple of my things. The Viking Age, like I've said before, I write articles over there. I've been doing a series based on what the Vikings have to do at each position based on who they have and who they're losing. I believe it's called the off-season forecast of each position, so check that out if you can. Undead Walking, The Walking Dead, newest issue comes out tomorrow. So if you do not have a subscription to the Walking Dead comic books, I highly recommend you picking up this issue because I think this is going to be as much of a game changer as last month was. This new storyline with the New World Order has been kind of mind-blowing so far. So who knows what's going to happen next. You can check out the Purple People podcast here. You can interact with me at several other Vikings autograph events around town. There's a couple good ones coming up. Tonight there was a couple that I had to miss with a photo op with Adam Thielen. Tommy Kramer was signing autographs at a bar around here, but I ended up staying home. And this weekend, there's an opening of a Dick's Sporting Goods store coming up where Kyle Rudolph's going to be. So if you want some of that info, let me know. We can try to set up hanging out, getting some ink. Always a good time. On that note, I do want to thank everyone for joining us here in the chat. We've had so many great people interact with us, and we always love when you come in and hang out with us live. And if you can't hang out with us live, there are plenty of ways, like I listed before, of ways to check us out. So please do that. You can go to our personal Twitter accounts. I'm at MNVikingZombie. We've got at Purple People Pod for the show in general. The Facebook page is always good to go. We're trying to be a little more active there, and I think that maybe we'll start posting up some photos with potential free agent targets and see what you guys think about them. I think that'd be fun. We should do that.
Absolutely.
And on that note, I do want to thank everyone once again for hanging out with us. I know it's the off season and things are slow and other podcasts are shutting things down until things get a little more exciting. But you know what? We are every week, and there's always something great going on with the Vikings. So we appreciate everything you guys do for us. And please remember to stay classy, Minnesota.